Hello, everybody, and welcome to College GPS. I'm Wendy Tilford, founder of College GPS and Plus Education. I am so glad that you all could join me and my colleague, Judy Young of College Excellence this evening. We have a great lineup for you, and we'll get right into it. But first, I want to thank you all for showing up because excuse me, because that is one of the most important steps in the process. Showing up to get the answers you need to make one of the most important steps in your life, applying for college. 4 years ago, we launched College GPS with just 2 participating universities, and until now, we only held this event in the spring. But thanks to the request of so many parents, here we are today hosting a fall session. And thanks to our participating colleges and universities, we are offering a front row seat with admission representatives from 22 schools this year. So want to give big thanks to today's participating schools: Virginia Tech, Kansas State, Oklahoma State University, University of Arizona, Simpson College, and Prescott College. Thank you guys for joining us today. I want to go over the agenda for this evening. Is we're going to give the college admission officers 2 minutes to introduce themselves and tell you a little bit about their colleges. And then we're going to go right into the panel discussion. We've received many questions about the admissions process from several of you attendees. We're going to give the college admission officers a minute each to respond to those, while we'll also have a 1 minute response. I'm sorry, not a 1 minute response. We'll also have polling questions out there too to respond to those, and the admission officer will have an opportunity to respond. At the top of your screen, you should see something called Q&A. That's where you can submit your questions that you have for the panelists. All of you all are mute. The only speakers that will be persons that will be speaking tonight are the panelists during the session. But we will be answering all the questions in the Q&A box at the end of the discussion. The forum is being recorded. We will share the links with you so that you could watch and share with your colleagues. And if your questions aren't addressed, I know the representatives will be putting their contact information in the chat box. But if you have any additional questions, please contact and reach out to us at information@wendyrtilford.com. But without further ado, we'll introduce our panel, starting with Virginia Tech.
Hi, everyone. My name is Pedro Baeza Martinez. I'm a first-generation college graduate, and I serve as an admissions counselor for Virginia Tech. Virginia Tech is a comprehensive land-granted 4-year public university founded back in 1872. We're located in Blacksburg, Virginia. We have 8 colleges, which collectively provide over 100 majors for students to choose from. Our top 5 majors are general engineering, business, biology, architecture, psychology. We are pretty large. We have a little over 36,000 students, 30 being undergrad, 6 being graduate. Our student to faculty ratio is 14:1, so you still get a small school feel. We compete at the NCAA Division I level. We have over 900 student clubs and organizations that vary from club sports, Greek life, culturally based, religious based, and academia based. We have the Honors College, co-op opportunities, and study abroad. Today, we're still one of 6 senior military academies and only one of 2 public institutions that have a Corps of Cadets. We practice inclusive practice and through a holistic review process, non-cognitive assessment, and self-reported academia record. To Virginia Tech, you can apply either using the Common App or the Coalition, and we have no preference either in whatever option you choose from. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Pedro. Appreciate it. And we'd like to hear from Dave Williams from Simpson, please.
Thank you. Yeah, my name is Dave Williams. I'm an admissions counselor here at Simpson College. Most of you probably don't know where we're at, but we are located just outside of Des Moines, which is in Iowa. So a little ways away from the Houston, Texas area, but we actually get a lot of Texas students. We are a private institution, which means we've got about 12 to 1,300 students on campus. So a lot of really hands-on opportunities, really allow our students to direct or make the most of their educational experience. About 12:1 student to faculty ratio. So again, very small class sizes. Very focused on the individual student. We've got a lot of different academic programs, over 80 different majors and minors that you get to choose from. So some of our top programs are going to be political science. Everything kind of kicks off in Iowa when it comes to election season. Our education department, fine arts, specifically our music and theater. And then on top of that, criminal justice is another big one. And then a lot of the pre-med, pre-professional programs that we offer as well. So a lot of really good opportunities. Over half our students carry at least a minor with their intended major as well. So it's not just one. If you've got a lot of interests or passions, you can be involved in a lot of different academic areas. A lot of different extracurriculars. So we are Division III when it comes to athletics. There's over 20 different NCAA sports you can choose from. Also intramurals, over 100 different groups and organizations that you can get involved in. And most of our students are involved in at least 2 to 3 different clubs or groups on campus. We've got a lot of really good financial aid opportunities specifically for students from Texas. So if you're a high school graduate from the state of Texas, not only do you get your merit scholarship, so based on your GPA, but we also give an additional $8,000 per year just for being from the state of Texas. So a lot of really good financial aid opportunities. A lot of our Texas students come to Simpson because it's actually less expensive for them to attend a private school out of state versus attend a state school in Texas. So that's just a Simpson College in a nutshell. Thanks again for being here, and I look forward to answering some questions.
Thanks, Dave. That's great information. And if I could hear from Katie Ronk from Oklahoma State, please.
Hi, I'm Katie Ronk. I work with Oklahoma State University and specifically within OSU, the College of Engineering, Architecture, and Technology. So I can kind of present to you overall, for the most part, all of our information about OSU, but also if engineering, architecture, or technology is something that interests you, that's kind of my niche. OSU is located in Stillwater, Oklahoma, which is about 7.5 hours away, just north of Oklahoma City. We are, like Virginia Tech, a land grant institution, and we have 87 majors. We are a NCAA Division I school, over 500 organizations with band, Greek life, and just about any club you could imagine. And that's about it. I'll keep it short. So yeah.
Fantastic. Thank you, Katie. And Mia Taylor from Kansas State.
Awesome. Hello, everyone. I'm just going to go ahead and drop my information in the chat box there for you. I'm actually going to share a little slide that we have as well. And here we go. All right, so hi, welcome to Kansas State University virtually. We are located in Manhattan, Kansas. So our town population is about 56,000, so it's similar to the size of Spring, Texas. We have over 250 majors and over 500 student organizations. I would like to mention that we do have 9 academic colleges, and that is including our Polytechnic campus that is located in Salina, Kansas, and our College of Veterinary Medicine. Our student population is about 22,000, so a little bit on the smaller side, but definitely has its advantages with that 18-to-1 student to faculty ratio. We are primarily a research institution, so we really encourage our undergraduate students to get involved in research right when they step on campus. Don't be discouraged by that. We have a lot of opportunities for you to be involved. It not only looks good on your application for graduate school, professional school, or just employment, but it helps you learn beyond the classroom, and that's what we want to provide for our students, all the experiences they can get. We are #1 for happiest students in the 2021 Princeton Review, hence one of our nicknames, Man Happiness. You will truly understand it when you come and visit the campus. We are #3 for quality of student life. That is thanks to just the resources we have here on campus, such as the Lafine Health Center. And we do have 16 NCAA Division I sports in the Big 12 Conference. Coming to K-State, being a recent graduate of Kansas State University, I can definitely attest to the resources we have here on campus. If you want to get involved, it's very easy to do so. If you want to go out and adventure, we have that as well. We also have an airport located near Manhattan campus, so it's about 10 to 15 minutes away, and you can actually get a direct flight from Dallas and Kansas City. So if you're traveling from Houston, we have some opportunities for you guys to come visit us. But with that being said, I'm just gonna go ahead and wrap it up, and I'm looking forward to answering your questions. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you, Mia. And Kenneth Welsh from Prescott, please. Kenneth, are you there? Okay, while we're waiting for him, how about Christina?
Oh, there you go.
Oh,
Yeah, there I am. My apologies. Technical difficulties, all zoomed out. My name is Kenneth Welch. I am from Prescott College in Prescott, Arizona, which I'm sure none of you know where it is, which is fine. Just think Prescott is in the center, just above Phoenix, about 2.5 hours north. We're a small private liberal arts school, and actually small is kind of an overstatement. We're more like tiny. In fact, we had about 350 students on our entire campus all of last year. That's less than a lot of English classes at other major universities. We focus on experiential education because we feel like we do not learn from telling, we learn from doing. For example, everyone on this call did not learn how to brush their teeth because somebody told them. They learned how to brush their teeth because somebody showed them. So we believe in showing the experiential learning education. We have a pretty impressive change maker scholarship. We do not have any of the D4, 3, 2, or 1 sports. So therefore, we're able to give some of that financials back to the students through scholarships, and we offer right now a $16,000 scholarship. It's called the Change Maker, simply for having a moderate GPA. We actually have more classrooms than vans. Our average class size is about 8 to 9. We try not to exceed 14 because in a van, 14 with one instructor, 15 passenger van, you kind of get it. Plus COVID, we want to keep those numbers down to about 8 to 9. We've learned through research that one of the main things a lot of young people face when they go away from home is feeling lonely. So our orientation is actually 21 days of backpacking in the Grand Canyon. Yes, I say again, 21 days of backpacking in the Grand Canyon. I am a city boy. The only time I've gone camping is Iraq, Kuwait, and Afghanistan as a military veteran. If that's for you, don't let me stop you. It is not for me. I look forward to answering your questions as we go through the chat.
Okay, that's fantastic, Cap. And last but not least, Christina Dominguez from University of Arizona.
I'm so thrilled to go after Kenneth because I know him. And when I first saw him, I was like, oh yeah, Prescott College. He's like, I know you've never heard of me because it's called Prescott. So just wanted to give that shout out. But my name is Christina Dominguez. I am also a Arizona University. So I am one of the Texas regional recruiters for the University of Arizona. So I live in Houston, but I cover all of East Texas, Gulf Coast, down to the Rio Grande Valley. I've had 6 years of higher education, which you probably don't want to know that. So just kind of letting you know. So I'm going to tell you because I know I have a lot of experience and I have a lot of insight to give you for this event specifically. But back to Arizona. So we are located in Tucson, Arizona, like Virginia Tech and like OSU. We are also a land grant university, and we are the second largest city in the state. So the first largest city is the capital of Arizona, and Kenneth kind of alluded to what our capital is. And so by plane, we're about a 2.5-hour flight. But if you love road trips and you want to get in that car and you want to drive through Texas, we're about a 15-hour drive. So in our defense, it seems like a far drive because from Houston to El Paso alone, it's 10 hours, guys. But again, we're also in different time zones too. So if you are interested in being a different time zone than your parents or guardians, you can call them at 10 o'clock at night and it would only be 8 o'clock in Texas. We were established in 1885, and a super fun fact is we were a university before Arizona became a state in 1912. So we have over 135 years of experience. We've had 32 students when we started off, 6 faculty members. Now we're up to 35,000 undergraduates and 45,000 students on our main campus. So if you're like, Christina, you did your math wrong, what's that 10,000 difference of students? That is going to be our graduate students. We also have a law school, and we are the only university in the country to have 2 independently accredited medical schools. 40% of our students actually come from out of state, so almost 50%. And our freshman class is about 7,000 to 8,000 students, but that's Arizona for you.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you very much, Christina. And back to you, Wendy.
Perfect. So we'll get right into the questions. The first question is, will the college admission process change with the coronavirus? And we can start with Oklahoma State.
So yeah, probably like everyone else at every other college, we have adapted our college admissions to COVID, just with in mind the fact that a lot of you all probably have not gotten to take the ACT, or if you did, you maybe didn't get the score you wanted. So right now, OSU is doing test optional in terms of admissions. All we ask is that you submit your high school transcript and that you fill out the essay questions when you apply. This will help you long term for scholarships, and it just helps the people doing admissions get to know you on a much more personal level and submit a leadership resume. So that is how we have changed to help with COVID.
Wonderful. Thank you. And if we can hear from Simpson College, please.
Yeah, so before COVID, Simpson College was already test optional. So we were, only things that we really required were your application and then your transcript. We're very holistic in our approach as far as looking at, what you can bring to the table outside of not only your academics, but, looking for leadership qualities that you can bring to Simpson that can make an impact on campus. So we really haven't changed as far as what's required to be admitted. I will say now, because of COVID and because there's fewer students that are sending test scores, we're definitely looking at the classes that you took, the extracurriculars you've been involved in, just again, those leadership opportunities that you've taken advantage of throughout high school. And again, what type of student could you potentially be at Simpson and what kind of impact could you have on campus?
Fantastic, thank you. And Pedro from Virginia Tech?
Yeah, so similar to Katie, we also have adapted a little bit. This is the first year that Virginia Tech has gone test optional. We also practice a holistic review process. So within that process, your whole self is considered. So we're looking at what you do in the classroom and beyond. We will still like to see rigorous courses, strong grades like A's and B's. But overall, because it is holistic, we do have that flexibility of taking into account any crisis or any impacts of COVID-19 throughout these past couple months.
Thank you so much. And Christina, if you'll talk to us about University of Arizona, please.
I like to start a question with a question. What hasn't changed? I think we're at a point in the college admissions process where change is inevitable, and we need to make sure that we are changing our processes to meet the students where they're at and to meet them not only financially, but with all the restraints that they have and what we are going through. So the University of Arizona has always been test optional. I like to say pre-COVID, regardless, we want to make sure higher education is accessible to you. But for fall 2020, our merit scholarships have removed the SAT or ACT requirements. So not only is higher education accessible, but affordable at the University of Arizona.
Fantastic, thank you so much. And Kenneth from Prescott, please.
That's a great question. And for just to Christina's point, a lot of things have changed. What has not changed is a great question. But Prescott, we've been test optional since I've been at Prescott, about 2 years. And the reason behind that is we're looking at ways to essentially get people into the school. Sometimes the test depends on your socioeconomic background, how you were raised, some of the things that you had as far as being able to prepare for those tests, delineate some of the people from actually applying because they don't meet their quote unquote requirements. So we've always not really looked at the SAT or ACTs. Don't get us twisted. If you have any you want to submit it, we will not hold that against you. But we'd rather see the essay 2 to 4 pages that really talks about who you are as a person, how you've grown over your high school career. That means a lot more to us than the smartest, essentially young person on paper. So great question, thank you.
Thank you so much. And Mia from Kansas State, please.
Yes, so we are still test optional. Our priority date is still December 1st, but we have extended for scholarships for the ACT and SAT, we have extended that to April 30th. So we do encourage you to either submit just the application or your GPA or your ACT or SAT, and that's because sometimes people just aren't good test takers. So we don't want that to affect your admission to the university, but we still are requiring the ACT or SAT for scholarships. And just remember that the priority date is December 1st, but we have extended for scholarships up until April 30th.
Okay, excellent, thank you. And Wendy back to you. I think you have a quick reminder, correct?
Sure. Panelists, can you in the chat box put in all responses to I think it should say all panelists and attendees, so that when you send your responses out, the attendees can see that. But I think you have to put that on your chat box, personal one. So it's on mine, so I can see it. Perfect. So let's move on to the second question: is how can students find out about your school, as many campuses are closed due to COVID? So we can start with Virginia Tech.
Yeah, so because we are obviously having restrictions in terms of having people on campus, our campus is still open. So if you on your own still come out, you're still able to explore, do a self-guided tour. But for the most part, a lot of our events right now are virtually, just as our open house. If you go to our admissions website, you are able to watch a pre-recorded information session that gives you the general scope of the admissions process. We also have uploaded recorded college presentations. So if you're interested in the college engineering, you can watch that presentation. You could do a 360 self-guided tour. You could also sign up for one of our daily information sessions. Within that information session, we'll cover the just admissions process. And then in the breakout rooms, you'll meet a HOPE ambassador and they'll give you a virtual tour of the campus as well.
Fantastic, thank you. And Dave from Simpson College, please.
Yeah, so similar to what Pedro said, you can go to our website and check out all of our different visit options. We have both virtual visits, and then we are open for physical campus visits. We are limiting the number of the campus visits that we hold each day just to prevent or try to prevent as much overlap with people crossing paths as much as possible. Masks are required, but again, if you're here in Texas and just want to get that first conversation started, a virtual visit's a good way to start. And you can really schedule those any day, anytime. The calendar is up to date. So if you want to meet Friday evening, we can get that scheduled and get faculty, coaches, whomever else on the call that you're really interested in.
Oh, that's fantastic. Thank you. And Katie from OSU.
Yeah, so like everyone else, we have also adapted to virtual tours, and I will include the link with information on how you can get those. The great thing about our tours is you'll get the general campus tour, but then they'll also do breakouts into colleges of your interest. So if you're interested in the College of Engineering, Architecture, and Technology, there's a specific time where someone from that college will talk with you and give you more in-depth information about their college and the majors offered. We are open as well, so if you are wanting to tour in person, you are more than welcome to, but like everyone else, we are limiting our numbers to, I think, about 12 to 20, including a guest, and we do require that you wear a face mask on campus at all times.
Okay, thank you. And Mia, what about Kansas State?
Yes, so just kind of repeating what everyone else has said, we do have the virtual visits where we do have breakout sessions where you can speak with academic advisors or professors within the department you are looking in to major. We are also open for on-campus visits now. We have limited the number or the amount of visits we do have per day, so we do not have overlap as well. But we also still have those one-on-one sessions if you want to meet with an on-campus admissions representative. And just another way to stay connected is to contact me, since I am the main connection to the university here in Houston. So that's just another way to get connected to K-State. So that's what we have.
Fantastic, thank you. And Kenneth from Prescott.
I guess I'll echo everyone. We are also available for face-to-face tours. Our campus is relatively tiny, so a tour at Prescott could last about 45 minutes. We are requesting that you set up that in advance, and actually we'll put the link to our virtual tour in the chat box now.
Okay, terrific, thank you. And Christina, what about U of Arizona?
I promise I will not echo what everybody said. I'm going to go off a beaten path. But besides your best resource being the university's website, a good Google search is awesome, and YouTube. Okay, so hear me out with the YouTube. A lot of our current students do vlog. I don't even know if vlog is a word that they use anymore, but they talk about their experiences on YouTube. So remember, each student's experience is unique to that person and may not in any way apply to other students' experiences, but kind of throwing it out there. So we're not saying, hey, go to our website, visit our information. I'm going to tell you, go to YouTube. We also have Instagram. Raise your hand if you have Instagram. I'm putting my hand down because I don't have Instagram, but we have Ask a Wildcat, and you can talk to current students. So if you ever have the opportunity to participate in a current student panel, do it. Yes, sign up, attend. Even if you don't have any questions, you might be there and learn something new. Because if you ask me, hey, what's a restaurant you would recommend in Tucson? I'd say go to Illegal Pete's, check it out.
Fantastic, thank you. And Wendy, back to you.
Man, I can tell you right now, I want to be, when I grow up, a college admissions officer. Kenneth and Christina, you guys look like y'all are having a blast. I'm in the wrong profession. All right, so most of, if not all of you, have already shared about test optional, what test is required for the school. So I'm going to release the first poll, which talks about the test optional in the school that that it pertains to you, because some of the schools are test optional already. And it says, and with the SAT and ACT and the tests are being canceled, we get this question a lot from students about, you know, should I still try to apply for the test? If I take the test, is it going to be of any value? So we ran a poll with the attendees here that completed it. And if your college is now test optional, is there any advantage of submitting a strong score? So we'll start with, I know, who shared with that? Let's start with Kansas State.
Yes, so there is an advantage to having a strong SAT or ACT score. So we do super score. So that means you can, if you take the test multiple times, you can send in each time you take it, and we'll basically give you a new composite score. We'll take the highest number from each section and give you a new composite score, which then results in a higher ACT or SAT score for you to get a better scholarship. So that is the reason why we extended it until April 30th, because we know some tests are being canceled or rescheduled right now. And since we have that priority date of December 1st, we didn't want that to hold our students back from taking the test. So I would say there is an advantage to having a strong test score.
That's great. That's very helpful. And Katie from OSU.
Yes, there is. And much like Mia, we also take the super score. And this is really going to help you for those bigger kind of merit scholarships. Like, I can personally speak on behalf of the our Seat Scholars program, which is a very high level program that is throughout your 4 years. It comes with a lot of money in scholarship and a lot of great experiences. So they do look at that score, and it is required to apply for some of those programs. But we also have extended our deadline to get all of that into February 1st. So I would recommend it if you can, but I also understand that this is just a really weird time. So it's not going to make or break your experience.
Fantastic, thank you. That's great information. And can you talk to us about Prescott?
Yes, and I'm from Ohio. I'm going to talk fast and tell you guys a quick story. A young person that applied for Prescott College with a 1.8 GPA. When they applied, they submitted their essay and it says, I have a 1.8 GPA, but it's for a good cause. And me being a football player and a track star, in my own mind, basketball player as well, when I graduated, my GPA was well above a 1.8. However, from the summer of her 8th grade year to the summer of her junior year, her and her family lived in underserved communities in Central America, and it was their job to assist them with bringing clean drinking water. Moral of the story is she didn't have a great GPA because of the area. So obviously, if you don't have clean drinking water, something like Wi-Fi may be a little bit of an issue. When your family has to travel an hour or two on the weekends to submit your homework, and sometimes even then it doesn't work, it put her at a great disadvantage. But we saw that she was already doing the things that we're looking for as far as a student. She had the leadership qualities. Essentially, and all packages are different, she was able to essentially have her whole first year almost financially paid for because of what she was doing. So test scores are not super important to us on that aspect. That essay means a lot more. And we don't have any actual application dates. We have a rolling admission. So if there's 2 or 3 weeks before school starts and you can get everything to us, we will definitely work with you because we're small and nimble enough to do it.
That is fantastic. What a great story. And U of A, Christina, please.
Well, how am I supposed to follow that except by saying life experiences, guys, unique life experiences. The question is, will it be an advantage to submit test scores for the University of Arizona? No, because we've always been test optional, and kind of going what to Kenneth said, we're looking at more than just academic achievement, because anyone can do well in school if they tried and if they have the resources available to them. And we do not want to hinder someone from attending our university if they don't have access to those resources. So for my answer specifically, it's not an advantage because we're looking at you as a whole and not just academically.
Okay, very good. And Dave from Simpson College, please.
Yeah, so I mean, the only advantage that sending a test score into Simpson would be to be considered for our top scholarship. It's not a scholarship that really increases your base merit award. It is a scholarship that provides a travel stipend to be used at some point during your 4 years so you can travel abroad. It's really for our students that have that 3.95 GPA or higher is what it's geared towards. So even if you apply test optional and you have that GPA, then your admissions counselor will work with you to send in a test score so you can be considered for the Coles Fellowship, which is the scholarship I'm referring to. And again, it's just for that travel stipend, which is something as far as study abroad that we push really hard at Simpson.
Oh, that's fantastic. Okay, and Pedro, if you could talk to us about Virginia Tech, please.
Yeah, of course. So as I mentioned before, this is the first time we're officially test optional, but over the past couple of years, Virginia Tech has gone through some transformational changes at the institutional level, as well as in the admissions process. So over these couple of changes, we've really placed less emphasis on the standardized test scores. Therefore, the test optional format hasn't really made any major shifts in our review process. If you do apply test optional, there's just be a greater emphasis on the other required application credentials, such as your grades, the course rigor, our OOP Prosum essays, which is our model that I may serve, which are the required essays for Virginia Tech, and then your co-curricular involvement. So overall, there will be no advantage if you do submit a strong test score. And on the other hand, there will be no penalty for those who do not take a test or provide a test score.
That's very reassuring. Okay, and Wendy, back to you.
All right, so next question. How will colleges consider grades and class rank this year? Some schools have moved to pass-fail options and classes have been canceled through the end of the school year. Kenneth, we'll start with Kenneth.
Thank you. That's a great question. Prescott is always kind of, experiential learning. So it's your experiences that are going to essentially allow you to get into Prescott College. So we've never really essentially looked at grades and class rank as a determination of what somebody is capable of learning. In fact, we're trying to look at a different way to, when we kind of went away from the test optional option, never having to have a test, we wanted to figure out, okay, not necessarily getting the people who are quote unquote smart, really, really smart right now on paper, but what is their will to learn? So we look at that, and that really does shine through your autobiographical essay. I know I keep harping on that, but it means so much more to Prescott than, pass-fail grades, class rank, GPA, et cetera, et cetera.
Fantastic, thank you. And Mia, what about K-State?
Yeah, so we do not rely on class rank for admission or scholarships, but of course there are some cases that come around that do need to be reviewed. So we work with the high school on a case-by-case basis. So we review on an individual basis, but we prefer to have the GPA for admissions and scholarships. So that's how we deal with the class rank and everything going on.
Great, thank you. And Katie, what about OSU?
So we do kind of a combination where it's kind of this and this or this and that. So we could look at your test scores and your GPA and your class rank. But OSU is also, you know, with COVID, we're also looking at the pass fail and not relying on that as heavily like Kenneth. We're really looking at your essay responses and your leadership resume. And that's what we're relying on the heaviest, especially right now, because that's what matters. And that's how we get to know who you are as a student and not just as some numbers.
That's fantastic. Thank you so much. And Dave, what about Simpson College?
Yeah, when it comes to class rank, I think like a lot of others, we've never factored in that in regards to admission to Simpson. As most of you know, like 2 high schools are not anywhere close to being equal. So one high school, you might be the top 15%. Well, if you were at a different high school, you might be barely in the top 50%. So again, we've never used class rank. And then when it comes to looking at like pass-fail classes, I think we're just going to be a little more flexible when it comes to awarding scholarships based on GPA, because that student that has a 3.49 GPA, well, our next scholarship range might be 3.5, but last semester was all pass-fail classes. So we're going to be a little flexible when it comes to awarding scholarships based on GPA when we see those pass and fail classes, just because we know the students really didn't have a choice. So we're going to kind of give them the benefit of the doubt when it comes to those situations.
That's fantastic. I'm sure it's very reassuring for families. And Pedro, what about Virginia Tech?
Yeah, so similar to Dave, the rank, as you mentioned, will vary between 2 different schools. There's no way you can say a number 1 at one school is the same as another school. But overall, our office was going to accept the grading policy at your high school. So I know we keep on saying the term holistic review, but we truly do mean it. For example, at Virginia Tech, we look into your school's profile. So we're not going to penalize you, for example, for not having AP opportunities as opposed to someone from down the street who has like 20 AP opportunities. So we really do look at the individualized school. And then whatever your school provides us within the school profile, if they say passes between a C or a higher, that's how we're going to view it as. I do know that some people consider, or some schools consider D's as pass. If that's the option between having a pass fail with the pass being considered a D or higher, and having the option of having a letter grade that could be even a C, we obviously would want you to go with that higher option. But those are decisions and choices that you would decide at home. But overall, we will just respect what your school decides on the policies.
Okay, it's great information. Thank you. And Christina, what about U of A?
Yeah, so Pedro used the word holistic. I'm going to use the word comprehensive. It really means the same thing, right? We're taking you as a student, not just academically, but your unique life experiences. So the key word here is what you provide on the admissions application. There are a lot of things on the admissions application that are optional. So we always hear the statement, less is more. But I'm going to tell you on the admissions application, more is definitely better. So the more information that you give us on that application, the better we have of an opportunity to serve you and serve your best interests to make the best decision for your future. So less is not more in this case, guys. More is better. Just write that down really quickly.
That is great advice. Thank you. And Wendy, back to you.
All right. Will your colleges be open in the fall? And do you expect colleges to be online? And if colleges are online, do you expect that to change the cost of the attendance, starting with Simpson College?
So we are face-to-face this fall. We are limiting, our classrooms to 50% capacity. So instead of a class where you might have 30 students, it's going to be split up into 2 sections of 15, so socially distanced within the classroom. Again, being a smaller institution, we kind of have the flexibility to do that with all of our students. And masks are required, again, social distance within the classroom throughout campus. We do have some faculty that have chosen to teach their course online because they might be in an at-risk age group or underlying conditions. That has not changed the cost. I think Simpson's done a pretty good job of trying to limit as much as possible the online courses that are being offered, just because, again, a lot of the students that choose to come to Simpson are there because they want that classroom interaction. They want those discussion-based classes, hands-on learning opportunities. So Simpson has really made it a focus to provide as much face-to-face learning as possible this semester, and it's been going really well. So the plan is to continue that into the spring as well.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you very much. And Pedro, can you tell us about Virginia Tech?
Yeah, definitely. So we're primarily virtual with partial face-to-face. So you can consider like as a hybrid model, but the ones that are face-to-face are the classes that are going to be really difficult to teach virtually, whether it be a lab or, for example, I know architecture is fully face-to-face, because those are, it's really difficult to get a full grasp of the curriculum virtually. But overall, we've taken precaution as much as we can. Being a large institution, we've moved small classrooms to medium-sized ones, mediums to large, and then large either had to split up to medium size or go virtual. So we've done everything we can in terms of practicing social distancing and ensuring the safety of our students. Our policies are going to be reviewed as things develop. I mean, I think there's a lot of uncertainty that we expected this to be done by now, but here we are. But yeah, and then like I said, they're going to be reviewed as the situation develops and as needed.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you. And Katie, what about OSU?
So all of our classes have downsized significantly. Most of them are X amount of students come to this class on Monday, and then the other half come on Wednesday. And however, if students have to be quarantining, they aren't feeling well, or the faculty is at risk, they can choose not to come to class, and they won't be penalized even for tests. But we are trying to make face-to-face happen, especially with things like labs, where students really do need that hands-on interaction. Almost all of the classes have plexiglass in between where students sit to ensure that students are keeping a social distance and staying as safe as possible. And like Pedro said, we just really don't know what things are going to be like. And, we're just adjusting as well as we can.
Fantastic. Thank you. And Mia, what about K-State?
Yeah, basically like everyone else said, it all depends on how this year goes. But as of right now, I would say fall for 2021 will be on campus in person. Right now, we are kind of doing the hybrid method. So the classes, most of them are online, and then like they would come on campus like 2 times a week. But of course, like socially distanced. The cost, that is to be determined. So we usually decide on the cost for fall 2021. It would be like decided in the summer of 2021. So just depending on how things go, that is how we will determine how fall 2021 will go, I guess.
Hey, that's a little ways away, but let's see. So Kenneth Prescott.
That's also a great question. I'm actually going to put 2 links in the chat that talk about our orientation as well as our residence halls. We actually opened classes here about a month ago, now on the block schedule. And after 21 days of people being in close proximity, having their tests being taken, temperatures, et cetera, all of the precautions, happy to report that a month back into class with all the faculty, staff, students, people who work in and around the campus, we do not have any COVID cases. So we're looking to extend that into the spring. And we were really intentional with going to the block scheduling, which we wanted to do for a while now, but it just kind of made sense. So essentially the same group of people who are going to be living in your residence halls at about 6 to maybe 8 in an entire building will be the same people that would be actually on your orientation. So if those same 6 or 7 or 8, somebody was to be in contact with somebody who may have had the COVID virus, it's a lot easier to take that one building, move all those students to an online format till their test results come back. So we've been really successful. We're really, really happy about that. To say no new COVID cases with all the students back in class is pretty phenomenal.
Yeah, that is phenomenal. And Christina, can you talk to us about U of Arizona?
Yeah, the University of Arizona for fall 2020 went to 4 modalities. I don't expect you to remember all 4, but I'm gonna briefly touch base on it. We offer in-person flex, which is kind of what Mia said, where they sometimes come to campus and then they're sometimes online. And then we have live online and I-course. So live online is just kind of what we're doing now. You're learning, we're hopefully teaching. And then I-course is where I want to do it on my own, Christina. I don't need you, but every now and then I might email you if I have a question. So our tuition hasn't changed, but if tuition and that financial cost of attendance is a factor for you, we have Arizona Online, which is the University of Arizona, just called Arizona Online, and it does not have out-of-state tuition. So you can be a resident of Texas, still get all the great amenities of the University of Arizona, but be online without paying the out-of-state tuition.
That's great to know. Thank you. And Wendy, back to you.
All right, so we have our second poll. Let's look at the results.
Drum roll, please.
All right, so how long do you think a college admission officer spends on average reviewing a college application? So let's start with Virginia Tech. How long does it take you to review a college application?
I hate giving this answer, but it is gonna vary. So for us, major matters. So your major will really determine how we look at your application. So engineering is one of our top most competitive majors, meaning those are going to be we're going to be very nitty gritty. Those take a little bit longer. And because of the holistic that we look at your school's profile, that takes a good chunk of time. But aside from reading the school's profile, I would say about 10 to 15. But it'll honestly just vary on the type of application, how much information you provide, which as Christina said, we want to see more information provided. So, but yeah, on average, I'll say 10 to 15.
That's great. I hope you guys are hearing that out there. Send in your information. Okay, and Dave, what about Simpson College? What about you?
Exactly like Pedro said. I think if there's a D, all of the above answer, that's what we would say. Again, it just really depends on the application. Did they write an essay? Did they submit recommendation? I mean, if they did everything that is an option for them, we're reading it all. I am reviewing everything. I mean, we go through the transcript with a fine-tooth comb. I mean, we're really focused on what classes you took. So, I mean, it can take up to 30 minutes to read some applications, whereas some, it might be a fast app where it's little information provided. They're not writing an essay. They're not submitting any recs. And it maybe only takes a couple minutes because I'm just looking at a transcript and the application itself. So again, it's all over the place, but I would say like 10 to 15 minutes per application is what I would say is pretty normal.
Fantastic. I'm still hearing more is better. Okay, and Katie, what about OSU?
Yep, just like Pedro and Dave, it just varies. Definitely the more information you can put in, the better. That just lets us know who you are as a person and not just test scores and GPA. Really, the more personal you can make it, the better. I would much rather spend a little extra time getting to know things that you're passionate about rather than, just the bare minimum, but it always depends.
Fantastic. Okay, and Mia, please.
Just like everyone else, I would probably say the average is about 10 to 15 minutes, depending on the student. Some students just have all the requirements and we just can go through and be like, hey, you're in. Some others, we need to check and make sure they have everything submitted. And especially with being test optional, we need to see if they're waiting to still submit a test, if say their GPA isn't quite up there, and using a test to kind of just be their admission to the university. So it will depend, but I would say on average about 10 to 15 minutes for our applications.
Pretty consistent from this group. Okay, and thank you. And what about Kenneth? Are you going to surprise us from Prescott?
Of course. How did you know? So when it comes to the application, we do take a holistic or comprehensive approach in our application review process with the essays as a recommendation, reference contacts, extracurricular activities. We look at everything. However, if a student is applying for Prescott College and they happen to fall into my realm, we're going to have a conversation. That may be a Zoom conversation. That may be one with their parents, mom or dad, grandparents, the system, who's ever raising them. And that could last anywhere from 20 minutes to an hour and a half. Some people I've talked to multiple times, and all of this I put into the application in my notes. We talked on this day for 20 minutes on a Zoom to kind of understand that they're thinking about some of our study abroad options and what things could prevent them or thus not allow them to do it. So I do take a little bit longer, but we're so small, we're not looking to we had 350 students on campus last year. We're not trying to make that 4,000 next year, so we don't really speed through it. We really, really take our time.
That's fantastic. Thank you. And Christina, what about you, Arizona?
I'm going to keep this short and sweet like me because I do have to head on out at 6:50 p.m. But I am so thankful at the University of Arizona, I do not review applications because we receive about 37,000 applications a year. But at my previous institution, I would have to read about 40 a day, Monday through Friday, and I do not spend 10 to 15 minutes. I don't even want to tell you how much I spend, but it's less than 10 and less than 10. Just to give you an idea, like I'm a quick reader and I can decide pretty quickly based on your academic trajectory, which is just a fancy word for saying how well you did in school, freshman year to junior year, how well you will do at the university that we're selecting you for, that we're reading you for. So more is better, but know that most universities don't spend as much time as you think when we are reviewing you, just because we have so much applicants to get through. But we are making the best decision, I pinky promise.
And Christina, because I know you have to leave early, and thank you so much for having been here, do you have anything that we didn't cover that you'd like to talk about in terms of U of Arizona? Or just any tips you'd like to give people out there?
Just the best of luck to everybody that is participating in this panel. I'm so glad that you were able to get the insight and knowledge that you need. Do not worry, do not stress. We are the best resource for you. Stay connected to us, and that is my advice.
That's great advice, and thank you so much for being here, Christina.
Thank you, Judy and Wendy. Have a great one.
Thanks for joining us.
Okay, so I think I got through poll 2, so back to you, Wendy.
All right, so next question. Do you expect major changes in financial aid and merit aid options for students in the fall? And I will start with Oklahoma State.
So we have been taking that into account, especially when it comes to scholarships. I can speak on behalf of the College of Engineering, Architecture, and Technology. We have actually received, previously we had $2.8 million in scholarships, and now we have gone up to $3 million in scholarships. So and even over the spring, we were taking into consideration students who have been severely impacted by COVID and making sure that their financial needs are being taken care of to the best of our abilities. So I do see that continuing, especially just as we see COVID is really lasting a lot longer than we thought it would, especially families. So I do see that continuing.
Okay, thank you, Katie. And Dave, what about Simpson College? What are you seeing? Dave, are you there?
Oh, sorry, I didn't cut out on it.
It's okay.
Well, so my answer is yes and no. Simpson is not changing any of the scholarships or raising tuition or room and board costs, which is a change from previous years. So the change is that we aren't changing anything. We'll continue to honor all of our scholarship matrix. And then again, the tuition and room and board costs are going to stay the exact same this year, just with everything that's going on. We know we've got a lot of families that were impacted by COVID, whether it's furlough, job loss, things like that. So we're trying to help as much as possible when it comes to not raising tuition for them, not increasing the cost for them to attend Simpson.
Fantastic. And Wendy, maybe at the end of this, I think we accidentally missed Kenneth for question 7. So if you'll circle back to that, please, after this. Okay, so same question we are on now for Virginia Tech, please, Pedro.
Yeah, so similar to our admissions process, our financial aid process, will respect the student's decision to go and test optional. So you will still be considered for financial aid, and then the scholarship process has adjusted to accommodate that test optional policy. We understand that the COVID-19 outbreak has had severe impacts on households and your finances and things like that. So your number one resource will always be the university scholarship and financial aid office for those questions about that.
Fantastic, thank you. And Mia, what about K-State?
Well, for K-State right now, we're currently addressing some options, but as of right now, nothing has really been set in stone about any big changes. We do typically offer a lot of money in scholarships, about over, I want to say over 40 million in scholarships. So we're still working with that, and hopefully something can be addressed for the fall 2021.
Thank you. And Kenneth, if you'll answer this question and then go back and answer question 7, and if needed, Wendy will refresh you on question 7. So if you'll answer this question for us first, please.
Yes, I'm actually going to put the link in the chat for our financial aid. I do believe our Change Maker Scholarship may be switched a little bit to not just automatically, I would like to say, give $16,000 away per student per year. We might find some students require a little bit more financial assistance. So if we break that number down to maybe it's 10,000 and it has another name, if somebody needed additional finances, we may be able to find $2,000, $4,000 scholarships to now have them at 18,000. Whereas somebody coming in might be okay with just having 10,000 or maybe even just the $4,000 scholarships. So we are changing things. In fact, actually, as far as our room and board, our residence halls used to house between 8 and 12. Now with COVID having 1 person per room, they're now at the single rate, even though they're now at the double rate, even though it's going to be 1 student in there per room. So we've actually eliminated some of the financial burden there by having to make the students pay for a single room when it's not their choice via the COVID. And we have also looked at some different ways to kind of get some additional financial options out to those students.
Oh, very nice. And do you need a refresher on question 7? Wendy, you want to refresh our memory on question 7 so he can answer that?
Oh, how long does it take you to review an application?
Okay, my apologies. I thought 7 was about advice for the students to think about the new normal for college admissions.
Oh,
we're moving them around.
okay.
Okay, my apologies.
It was the polling on how long does it take you to review your application. Most said, Christina was the one that said it's less than 10, but pretty much everybody said 10 to 15.
Right, yeah, I've answered that. I'm good, thanks.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, so back to you, Wendy.
All right, so we'll answer the last question. How will extracurriculars be considered since many schools and outside activities as well as summer programs and internships have been canceled? And I'll start with Kenneth. So I don't miss you this time.
Thank you, I appreciate it. So the extracurriculars, that's definitely a huge part of it. I was reading an essay a couple of days ago where a young lady was talking about her connections with horses and how she liked to use those to work with underserved community members, giving them a different outlet, and then obviously tying that into psychology and cultural and regional studies. So you think about the fact that this young person is already, from her sophomore year and her junior year, worked with horses, and we have an equestrian psychology program at Prescott College where you can, through interdisciplinary studies, merge those 2 fields. It's like you're already speaking our crack-a-lackin' language, for lack of better words, hashtag Madagascar. I have kids, don't judge me. So we really, really look at those extracurriculars. Again, the 4.0 looks really, really good. That's the trophy that's on the wall. But the certificate that fell down because it was tacked into the wall, that may have a little bit more value than that trophy on the wall.
I tell you, I'm all over the crack-a-lackin'. There we go. All right, and next, let us hear from Mia, please, at K-State.
Yeah, so due to the current situation, everyone kind of has their own take on it. So a lot of our extracurriculars on campus, most of them have been moved virtually, or if they do host on-campus events, it's very spread out for the social distance point of it. But I would say contact the department or the organization you're looking at, especially for internships or extracurricular or community service, because I would guess they already have something set up for that, since a lot of people were affected by that with this whole pandemic going on. But if you have specific questions about that, I could always get in contact with them too, as I'm learning when I'm working with the student as well. So that could definitely be arranged too.
Fantastic, thank you. And Katie, what about OSU?
So we have just been really looking at the resume and just looking at what were you doing before COVID and taking that into account, because like everyone else, we understand that your senior or your what would have been junior year track meet got canceled, and that was something that you were really passionate about, but you had 1-2 years of experience in that, and that just shows us that you were passionate about it, and then the world got put on hold. So we keep those in mind, and we understand that a lot of things that students really thrive off of are the things outside of the classroom, and those were put on hold, and we completely understand.
Fantastic. You guys are so nice. And Dave, what about Simpson College?
First off, 3 kids, big Madagascar fans here. So just want to let you know. So, I'm just like everyone else. We're taking everything into consideration. I mean, if you were involved 2 years, we get that your junior year track season or soccer season might have been canceled. And we really emphasize, like, tell us everything as much as possible. If you volunteer in the nursery at your church on Sunday, like, tell us that. Like, that's something that's unique to you and makes you stand out from a lot of other students who might also be applying to Simpson. So again, as much as possible, we encourage students to tell us anything and everything, even if they think it's not a big deal. Let's talk about it, because that, again, can paint a little better picture as to what you were involved in throughout high school.
And that's great advice, and I hope everyone out there is hearing that. And Pedro, what about Virginia Tech?
Similar to everyone else, we are very much aware of the situation, and then that opportunities have been taken away from you. But as I mentioned before, your whole self is included. So what you do in the classroom and beyond, we want to know about your experiences. I guess pre-COVID, and I guess how you've been able to manage during the COVID situation. So I think the biggest thing I would say is don't sell yourself short when listing your experiences. Tell us for how long you've done it, what did you do, and especially let us know if you had a leadership position in that organization or in that activity or in that sport. One thing I will note about Virginia Tech is that we do not accept resumes or letters of recommendation. So aside from what academic profile looks like, I think the second biggest component will be our Ut Prosum essays, which I mentioned at the very beginning, which are the required essays. Ut Prosum is our motto, which means that I may serve. And those are what our essays are pretty much based off of. Pretty much serving others, resiliency, overcoming adversity, and setting goals for yourself, and getting a plan to achieve them. So know that we, at least in our process, have strategically implemented requirements that kind of cover those bases for you without having to list example by example.
That's wonderful. You guys have been just amazing. I have actually personally learned so much this evening. I feel like I've had a whirlwind tour around the country. And how about you, Wendy, as we look to close out now?
Absolutely. Thank you, guys. As they always say, it's too good to be true, but we have come to the end of night number 3 for College GPS, and it has been an honor. So thank you, attendees, for attending, and thank you, panelists from Georgia Tech, Kansas State, Simpson College, Preston College, University of Arizona, and Oklahoma State. Thank you guys so much. We greatly appreciate you. Amazing information. Attendees' information is in the chat box. We don't have any questions. It seems like we've answered them all. So we are great. We're excited. We're just been great. I'm speechless. It's been so great.
This was amazing. Thank you guys for bringing your sense of humor to the evening. This was fantastic. Really appreciate you guys being here.
Thank you guys. Have a good night.
Thanks. Have a good one.